Hey guys, Belair here. Today I'm going to give a brief breakdown tutorial of Liquipedia. If you're a fan of almost any esport, there's a good chance you've probably used or at least heard of this tool. As the name would imply, it essentially is Wikipedia for a ton of different esports. Throughout this video, I'm going to cover some of the general navigation tools and tricks that you can use to go through the site yourself. What it's going to help us accomplish is how to find results and tournaments, whether they are upcoming, ongoing, or have been completed. Show you how to navigate to specific pages for teams and players and organizations if you want to find out information for them as well. So let me not delay. This video is going to be time-stamped if you want to get anywhere in particular. There's a lot of great information in the description as well. So let's go ahead and get over to Future Belair to walk you through Liquipedia. Let's take a quick tour through our main page. The first thing I will recommend from the absolute top is turning on dark theme. I prefer this for every website that will allow me to do it. Now, at the top here, we have some high-level breakdowns. I typically don't use these options myself. I think there's more effective ways to find this information that I'm going to show you in a second. And if there's anything in particular that you're looking to gain more information on, this video is going to be time-stamped for you as well. Let's start on our left side here. This is going to be our section for the RLCS, our highest level competition within Rocket League esports. We're going to have information tucked up at the top here for whatever the next LAN event will be. Currently, that's for the Birmingham Major. Below that, we're going to see a regional breakdown. So for each of our independent regions, you can kind of click in and navigate directly to that information. We're going to circle back to this. First, let's take a look over the rest of what our main page has to offer. Upcoming matches is useful. If you are not totally locked in to the RLCS at all moments, and even furthermore, even if you are, there's so many tournaments that we offer, you can always miss stuff. This will have a breakdown of all of the upcoming matches. You can see that we have a couple different options here color-wise that is probably important to break down. This is going to extend into all of the pages that we see after this. If you see a name or a team with a that is in blue, that means it's hyperlinked. So these players or teams are going to have pages that you can go learn more information about them. And if you see a team or a name in red, that means unfortunately this page does not exist yet, so we don't have more information that you can gain about these individuals. Down below, I'll have a little bit of information on resources that you can find if you want to help offer some assistance to continuing to expand Liquipedia for Rocket League. If you're interested in that, definitely look below. Couple toggles here on upcoming matches. The starred matches isn't something that I use very often, especially when we're out of the Rocket League RLCS season, that is. We're not going to have any featured matches. Instead, sometimes I will use the completed option here where you can see matches that have already occurred. Of course, green for the winner, GG's to Moxie, and red for the losing team. This can be helpful if I'm looking to just catch up on something in a flash, although typically I don't use this too much. To the right of that, we have our tournaments where you can see the upcoming, ongoing, and completed within these different drop downs here. Couple toggles that we have. This is currently showing, as you can see, they're highlighted in blue, all of our tiers. The different tiers, as brief as I can break it down, is typically based on the prize pool amount. So our B, C, D, and miscellaneous typically have smaller prize pools that are a part of them. Let me go ahead and turn those back on so we can see all of that data. And then if we use this toggle dropdown, you'll be able to see different regions. So let's say you're just a huge fan of European and North American Rocket League. we can turn off the toggles for these other ones. And let's say you only care about the RLCS, so you don't want to see any events from some of our creators or different organizations or entities that are putting on tournaments. We could turn off the B, C, and D tiers and just see what we have upcoming for these. We are in the off season right now, so not a lot to show here, but useful for when you're looking to find what tournaments might interest you in the future. Scrolling down a little bit here, some of our off-season tournament information is listed here. We just had our FIFA E World Cup, for example. Shout out to Team Falcons, aka Saudi Arabia, for winning that tournament. We've had a great off-season, a lot of tournaments that you could tap into. Below that, we're going to have our CRL information as well. Down here a little bit, something that I like to check as daily as I can is this day in Rocket League page here. I always like to see the different birthdays that we have on the day. Happy birthday to those listed here. And then, of course, you have previous tournament winners. So, for example, in the year 2020, Dignitas won the Rocket League Summit event, which is very cool. There's some extra helpful information down here, especially some of this if you want to help out. Is listed down here. This might be more helpful than me putting it in the bio. Some transfer information as well. This is as good a time as any to show you a couple other spreadsheets. And let's work through an example here real quick. For example, we have Knight, who was inactive for Ninjas in Pajamas. He's now moving to the BIMS, Knight, and Wisty roster that we're going to see. And if you want to see where that information came from, you can go to that. This is actually going to take us to Twitter to show Knight's post about this transition that he's made. Now, to that point, a couple other spreadsheets I like to use. Lawler has a great spreadsheet here where he breaks down a ton of information, including some of the roster confirmations that we saw in that transfer window on Liquipedia down below. You can see the different regions and confirmations. And then down below, we have some potential teams for the upcoming season. An extension of this spreadsheet is Achilles' spreadsheet here for Shift. This is up to date as of recording this for all of the changes that Shift and Achilles has ever reported on. So this is an excellent resource. You can see they have done such great work over many seasons, and all the way down here at the bottom, you'll see some of our newer information. For example, how GK is about to sign Joyo, Oli, and Archie for next season. Back over to Liquipedia. Let's go and work through a tournament so we can navigate through player and team pages. In order to do that, let's go to the upcoming RLCS season. So let's just go ahead and click into the overview here via this blue hyperlink. And in scrolling down, you can see that a lot of this information is not filled out yet. That's because the info hasn't been announced. This tournament's not happening for several months. So instead of looking at this, let's look at a tournament from the past that has some active data that we can use. So I'm going to go back to the most recent season. That's the 2024. And let's work our way from the top down. So you can see that bar that I just used to click on is going to house all of our previous seasons here. Of course, the 2026 does not have a page because it has not happened yet, but you can go all the way back to season 1, and this information that we're going to work through here is going to translate to every season prior. So right here, we're going to have our first kind of concatenated drop down, the finals, the ranking, and then the 2 majors. This is all the information housed within last season. So for example, if we were to compare this to the 22-23 season, you're going to see instead of Major 1 and Major 2, instead we're going to have fall, winter, and spring. But let's navigate back to 2024. We have our 2 different majors, and we're going to come back up to this in just a moment. But first, let's work through, what we had seen from the finals. Below that, so currently we're within the finals, as you can see by the different coloration here. And then dropping down, we have our overview, qualification information, statistics, and additional content. So scrolling down on the right box here, we have all of the information from this tournament that might be important to you from a bird's eye view. I think the most important thing that I typically use from this side is our different links. So if you want to see specific Twitter information about this, where the streams might be on Twitch or YouTube, this is your place to go. We, of course, have all of the broadcast talent here. And again, just a good reminder of the blue versus the red. Sandstorm, for example, was a translator who has a page. So if we were to right click and open that tab, we could see some more information about Sandstorm here. You can see the different coloration. Typically, Sandstorm does work within PUBG Mobile. So this is actually an extension outside of the Rocket League Liquipedia that's going to direct us still within Liquipedia, but to PUBG Mobile. And right below Sandstorm, Esperanza does not have a page, so we unfortunately can't learn more about this translator who helped out with the World Championship at this point in time. Some format information here, prize pool information, and here we have this drop-down menu where we can see the final rankings from the event. So BDS ended up winning the tournament overall. All the way down to the bottom, we can see the different placements with Limitless and Gladiators rounding out the bottom of our group. And Team Anything did not perform in this event. They ended up being replaced by Oxygen, for example. Now here's where we really start to use Liquipedia. All that stuff before was just information that can be nice to know, but this is really where we start to dive into how I personally utilize Liquipedia on a daily basis. So these participants that we have here, you of course can hover over the different boxes to show information for the players. So Carmine Corps is a European team. Vatira, Atau, Rise were the roster last season with Farah and Jordy as our coaches. We can see the trophy here, which signifies that Farah has coached a team that has won a championship previously. If we, for example, were to go over to Vitality, they won it the season before, so they're all going to have a trophy. Fairy Peaks came from his time participating within the esport as a player. You can do these independent hovers over each. I personally find it more impactful to use this Show Players button here, and clicking that, we're just going to see all of the player information from a high level. Of course, some people like to see the different logos. It makes it a little easier to navigate into, but I personally just like to see all that data because I know what the team logos look like. I guess it's that simple. Some information about teams that we might see. You see, for example, this little 1 that appears next to Oxygen Esports. That means that there's a note on that we could learn some more about. And we have that 1 down below. Anything forfeited their spot. If we do former participants, we'll see Anything's team here. They forfeited their spot, and then Oxygen ended up getting the spot, which is kind of where our note lies. The results down below can be color-coded here. You can see the different events, or the different matchups, rather, as they occurred. You can see our teams who ended up going to a final round, by how you read this table here, showing that they went all the way to round 5, but also by the different colorations that we have here. And let's use one of these teams as an example to learn more about the team and the players that are on them. So let's talk about Gentlemates, for example. Really fun team to watch last season. Excited to see all of these players perform on different rosters next season. We can see that the matches they had, they ended up going 3-2. Their game differential, they won 11 games and lost 8. And that game differential equals a +3. We can see that they beat the Pioneers pretty handily in a 3-0, then played against Vitality. And something that I want to point out on these moving tables that we have is you'll actually be able to see that correlating game within a different team's listing. So for example, right now you can see if we hover over this, You see this black box here that's around this Quick Trip Pioneers? Well, you can see down here below for the Pioneers, this black box will actually also correspond to the games that were played. So right now, see how that black box still exists over that Gentlemates game? Another example is if we hover over to Vitality here, I want you to keep an eye on this box here. You can see that now all of the Vitality games are circled within, or squared rather, within this black box, and as is the team. So it's kind of a good visual way to see all of the games that that team played throughout the tenure of a tournament. All right, let's go ahead and click into Gentlemates here. All right, so let's scroll down a little bit and we're going to follow along with Gentlemates. So round one, let's go ahead and find them. Gentlemates are right here. Green square means that they won. They won 3-0 over the Quick Trip Pioneers. And see this little eye? We're going to see this a lot and we're going to use it a lot if you're on Liquipedia. I'm going to go ahead and click on that eye and you can see more information about this series. So Gentlemates are on the left side here. They won all 3 of their games. You can see the check marks for the wins. You can see the pitch in which that game was played on. You can see the date and the time in which that occurred. And then over here is Quick Trip Pioneers information. If it's a high-level RLCS event, you're going to have a really thorough breakdown of each of the matchups. If you're watching some lower-level tournaments, some creator sponsored ones, you might not always have caster information and different game breakdowns like this. But for the RLCS, you're almost always going to have this. Down here below, let's say we want to watch a specific game. For example, maybe I want to see what occurred in game 2. I know that something important happened, but I can't quite remember. Well, down here we can see each of our individual games. So I'm going to go ahead and right click and open this in a new tab. And it's going to take us to a time-stamped spot in which this game 2 occurred, which is really, really useful. I personally don't do a lot of watching on Twitch. I use Ballchasing quite a bit, which is this little icon right here. I'm going to have a different tutorial and a different video about Ballchasing that I highly recommend you watch if you want to do what most of my YouTube channel is, which is watching gameplay from a player point of view. So let's go ahead and click on Ballchasing real quick just to show that. And these are really thorough breakdowns. Ballchasing is a tool I use all the time. I absolutely adore that and Liquipedia. They're 2 of my favorites. You can see all the replay information here. Let's go to that same game 2, why don't we? We can see that Itachi was the MVP. And here is a very concise breakdown of what occurred within the game. So I always recommend going to use Ballchasing if you want to really dive into the minutia of different games and stats and things like that. But we'll save that for the Ballchasing video. Now back over here, if we continue to scroll down, we can see all of the round-to-round matchups. Down here at the bottom, we're going to have our playoffs, and the same information applies. Let's say we wanted to see this upper bracket quarterfinal. Here's our little eye. Let's click on that, and we can see exactly what happened within this game, including timeouts, including whether or not it went to an overtime. You can just see everything that you might need to know about these events. Now, with one of these broken down and looked at, let's get into the fun stuff, more of the fun stuff. And let's go ahead and let's check out Gentlemates Alpine. Let's say, who are the players on that team? Who played for them last season? I can't remember. Well, let's go ahead and click on them, and you're going to see the layout is very, very similar across Liquipedia. So we have this information on the right side in this bar that's going to show us different information about the organization, where they're located, what region they play in, approximate earnings, some more of the information. Let's say you want to go and buy some of their merch or see if they have any. Here's their homepage. You could navigate over to gentlemates.com here. Ton of good stuff. Achievements as well, when they were created. And here is where you can see the timeline. So you can see, all right, Gentlemates actually just entered Rocket League last season. They picked up this roster. And when we go to, if we were to go to a different team, For example, let's go to the Quick Trip Pioneers. We could see that they've been around for quite a while, right? So you could go all the way back to 2020 and see that they had Dapper, who was a substitute, which is crazy to see. If we go to 2022, Kronovi retired. So it's a full historical breakdown of all the information that you could want to know about these different organizations. Let's actually just stay on Pioneers here. They're a good example. They've been around for a while. You can see the different squads that they were running with in different iterations of the season. So Major 1, they had Scrub, Amphis, and Fiber. And then you can see that they ended up picking up Super Locky in place of Scrub to end the season. If we were to go back to 2023, here's the players that we had here. You can see where they end up going, when they join, when they leave. Very, very useful tool if you're interested in the history of the esport. Down here below, you can see some high-level achievement information and some awards, but I'm going to show you some better ways, in my opinion, to look at this information. All the way back up here at the top, we have our results. Here's where you can see all the tournaments that they have participated in as an organization. You can filter it by date, by their placement, or by the tier. I personally use tier all the time. So if we were to click on this, we'll immediately see all of their S tier events. These are your highest level RLCS competitions. And you can see that they've been in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 S tier events. Very impressive for this organization to have been in so many. And below, these are going to be your regionals. So you can see these are within the Oceania region. Here are the 6 qualifiers that we had for last season. If we were to scroll down even further, we'll find the 22-23 season and all of our invitationals here. This, of course, extends all the way down to all the tournaments that they've participated in. Let's go over to our played matches now. Let's say we want to see all the matchups that they might have had with Gentlemates in the past, so that before a matchup, we can see what the historical data for that matchup might be. So if we use this verse team here and we sort ascending, you can see all of these broken down by who they played previously. Let's scroll all the way down. We're looking for the M8 hyperlink. And I'm going to show you a different way you can navigate to this information in just a moment. But all the way down here, as soon as my eyes stop deceiving me, we will find mate. And you know what? Hey, Bellair, why don't you go about this a smarter way and Command F and look for mate. Look at you go. Incredible. Here's the only matchup that they had, and I guess because it's Gentlemates, they're going to appear up here. They only played that one time, and you can see it's red. We're on Pioneers, so Gentlemates ended up taking this matchup 3-0, and they have not played since. Gen G, for example, we can see that they've played that team twice, and they ended up splitting those events. They, of course, infamously beat them at the 2024 World Championship that we just had on stage. In the season prior, 22-23, they had played once as well. So let's scroll back up to the top here, and there's a different way you can see this information with this head-to-head. I personally don't use this all the time. It's basically a different way to get to the same information we had just seen before. For example, Pioneers are our team 1, and let's go ahead and make Gen G our second team. And you, of course, can add the tiers. Let's say we only wanted to see when they played each other in S tier events. In this case, both the times they played against each other were in S tiers, but you could add different tiers, filter as you'd like, and then you can add some optional date information as well. But I'm just going to go ahead and run this. And there we go. There's those 2 matchups we had seen previously, the series score, the game wins, the goal differential. Let's say we really wanted to see more information about that World Championship matchup. We could click on show, and we're going to get this broken down for us as well. So different ways to find the same breakdown of information, but they also show slightly different things as well. So let's click into Gen G here. And Gen.G are an exciting organization that have been in the space for a couple of seasons. They recently picked up a new roster, the former Luminosity RMC roster of Cheese, Magic Bear, and Reddles, and their coach Raw Greg. You know, Magic Bear's been around for a while, but I can't remember offhand who he has played for previously. Well, let's go ahead and find that information. So, of course, some information we have already looked over, the timeline of when they came in. On the right side, all of the team breakdown information. And here is Magic Bear. He is in blue, so that means he's hyperlinked out. Let's go ahead and click over to his page. And we can see Christopher's information here. We can see, in most cases, a date of birth, where they participate. If you really care about impersonating or setting yourself up for success in the same way that the pros have, in most cases, we're going to have how they are configuring their controllers and gameplay right here. Down below, you can see the team history, which is super useful for me. And you can also see some of the results. So, Magic Bear has been around since 2020. How many S tier events has he been to? How many lands? Sometimes you can see it via this achievements, but if we wanted to see A tier, for example, all of that's not going to show up here. So you can click on this extended list of results. It's going to take you to the same place as this results button here. Let's go ahead and click up here. And if we wanted to find all of our A tier matchups, what would you recommend that we do? That's right. I'm going to go over to the tiers here. I'm going to hover and click to sort ascending. And we can see that Magic Bear has been in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 S tier events and quite a few A tiers as well. A pretty seasoned pro at this point in time. Let's go back to our overview. And you can see the different history of teams that he's played on here. For example, Alpine Esports, one of the best decals in Rocket League history, who became Torrent Gaming. You can see that Magic Bear was released in 2022, but when did he join? Was it in 2021? Let's go ahead and look through the information. We can see that they actually extended Magic Bear's contract here, but we don't see when he joined. That must have been in 2020, where Alpine Esports acquired Percy, Magic Bear, Jordan, and Creams to their roster. So just a different way to navigate to the same information. We see that ultimately Magic Bear ended up leaving after about 2 years and change to join Optic Gaming. And we could continue to navigate this over and over again. Here is Optic, who had purchased what previously was Team Envy. You can see all of their history back to 2017. If we wanted to learn more information about Greasy Meister, we have that here. That's pretty much the breakdown of what Liquipedia has to offer. So I want to take you through one more scenario. Let's take a player. Let's say that player is Yan, the South American superstar. Let's say we want to see how many A tier or S tier events Yan has participated in. And let's say we also want to see who his teammates are. So we can use this search bar up here to go to Yan. And we can see his player profile like we have for Greasy here, or we can also navigate directly to his results. But instead of doing that, let's try and go about this a little bit more of a challenging way. Let's try and navigate to Yan from Greasy Meister. Why don't we? Will you ever use this? Probably not. But we can see here that Greasy previously played on Complexity, who is a team who has participated in North America and South America. So I'm pretty confident that there's going to be a matchup there against Yan, who is South American. We can see here some information about Complexity. And let's actually go to Complexity's results. Why don't we? Immediately, we can see a matchup against Furia, who I know is Yan's team. So let's go ahead and click on Furia. And then here we can see some information about their timeline. But right here, here's their active roster. And aha, here is Yan and his two teammates, Lost, Dravinio, and their coach, STL. Let's go ahead and click on Yan. And we can see how long he has been on Furia since 2021. A pretty long tenure, to be honest with you. And let's go up to the results. I'm going to hover over S tier. I'm going to filter. We can see that Yan has been in a lot of S tier events and even more A tier events. So Yan, another player who has had a very impressive career so far. So guys, that's going to be it for me in walking you through Liquipedia. Is there anything that I missed that you think is important? If so, definitely let me know in the comments below. If there's anything that I've forgotten or that you guys post about that I think is really good to know, I'll try and pin that or put that closer to the top so that anybody viewing can watch this. If you have any questions about something that you're trying to accomplish within Liquipedia that I didn't quite cover here, definitely leave me a comment, and I'm going to try and do my best to stay on top of this and try and get you answers to anything you might need. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much for checking out today's video. Hope this tutorial was helpful. And until next time, guys, take it easy.